The music was playing on the radio, but no one knew who was singing. There was no title, no artist, not even a device plugged into the wall. And yet, Mia could hear it. It was soft, like a whisper coming from a place where time doesn't move. That voice said things no one else ever said. It touched wounds no one else could see, and with each repetition, it felt like she bled a little less. Mia Sullivan didn't know if she was losing control or gaining faith. The two things felt strangely alike when you spend too much time inside a hospital. It was the third night she slept sitting in a blue armchair, her head resting on an old blanket that still carried her brother's scent. Josh had been in a coma since the accident. The doctors spoke of delayed neurological response, continuous monitoring, waiting for progress. Words that meant everything and nothing. That night, she stepped out of the room to get some air. The waiting room was empty. There was only the hum of the air conditioner and the presence of an old radio in the corner, apparently turned off, but that's where the song came from. Mia clearly heard a phrase that sent chills down her spine. "He surrounds you with songs of deliverance." She turned round abruptly. No one was there. The radio was still. No light, no sound. But the phrase, it kept echoing inside her. It was in English, but it felt like it translated exactly what she couldn't put into words. With trembling hands, she grabbed her phone and typed the phrase. And there it was. Psalm 32 verse 7. She read it softly. "You are my hiding place. You shall preserve me from trouble. You shall surround me with songs of deliverance." She read it again, then in another version. "You are my hiding place. You protect me from trouble and surround me with songs of deliverance." And finally, "You are my refuge. You will protect me from danger and surround me with songs of victory." She felt a lump in her throat. It was as if those lyrics had been written for her, or worse, by her. She returned to the room, still in shock, sat down next to Josh, held his cold hand, and looked at the monitor. Everything the same, everything still, everything uncertain. But now, with a new frequency in the air, she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and for the first time since it all began, she prayed with full words, not a vague whisper, a full prayer. "Lord, you are my brother's hiding place. You are my refuge too. Protect him from what the eyes can't see. Deliver him from the anguish that doesn't show up in the tests. Surround this room with your songs. May they sound louder than the silence. May your voice cover the absence of ours. Sing for him, Lord, until he can sing again. In Jesus' name, amen." And then, the room seemed to change temperature. Not physically, it was something invisible. The kind of change only the spirit can sense. As if, for a few seconds, heaven leaned in to listen to a song in return. Mia remained silent, holding his hand, and deep in her heart, she had a clear feeling that she was no longer singing alone. If this prayer spoke to you, write in the comments the name of someone you love who needs to be surrounded by these songs of deliverance. Leave a word of faith, too, like "God is here," or "I believe." And if you felt God's presence in this moment, like this video and subscribe to the channel, not just to support this work, but to keep this chain of faith alive. Every name in the comments is a cry for help. Every subscription is one more step on the path of hope. The next morning, Mia woke up with dry eyes. For the first time, she had slept without nightmares, and as she was fixing the blanket on the armchair, something made her glance at the little table beside the bed. The radio from the front desk was there, but turned off. As always, still, she swore she could hear the melody. Deep in the background, she grabbed her phone and tried to record, but the sound wouldn't come through, as if it were made of something that devices couldn't capture, only the heart. She went back to the verse, reread it, and realized that the psalm was no longer just on the screen, it was inside her. So she grabbed a sheet of paper from the clipboard, a pen forgotten in her pocket, and wrote, "You are my hiding place. You surround me with songs of deliverance." Psalm 32:7. She folded the note carefully, placed it under Josh's pillow, and whispered, "You are not alone. Neither am I." But what Mia didn't know yet was that this simple sentence was going to change everything, because she thought she was the only one hearing it, but someone else was listening too. That morning, Mia didn't tell anyone what had happened. She didn't know how to explain it. The music, the verse, the feeling that someone or something was trying to reach her from within. She didn't want to be seen as fragile or out of touch with reality. But as the day went on and the hospital routine returned to its usual rhythm, the melody came back. Every time she was alone in Josh's room, the song reappeared. It was always The same phrase, the same calm, almost sweet tone, with lyrics she now knew by heart. He surrounds you with songs of deliverance, but there was no radio playing, no external sound. It was as if the air itself vibrated within the room, as if the very space became melody. And little by little, Mia began to understand. It wasn't coming from outside. The second time she heard it, she tried to record it with her phone. She discreetly pressed the record button and left the device on the table beside the bed. She waited several minutes until the melody returned. When the sound faded, she picked up the phone with a pounding heart, hit play. Silence, complete silence. No noise, no voice. Not even her own breathing was audible. She took a deep breath, trying to fight off panic. What if she really was imagining all of it? What if it was a breakdown? A kind of hallucination, triggered by stress, exhaustion, helplessness. But when she looked at Josh lying there, unmoving, with pale skin and a quiet soul, she didn't feel like she was going insane. She felt like she was being visited. It was different. That afternoon, she left the room and went to the nurse's station. She waited for the shift change and approached one of the nurses, trying to sound casual. "Do you guys ever leave a radio playing in the rooms?" The woman shook her head. "Most of them don't even have radios, and the ones that do hardly ever work." Mia hesitated. "And what if someone hears music, even without a radio?" The nurse smiled kindly. "Well, this is a hospital, right? I've heard people say they heard voices, footsteps, even laughter. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's exhaustion, and sometimes it's just God speaking in a way only we can understand." Mia smiled back, but inside, the doubt kept growing. It wasn't just a coincidence. They had a purpose. That melody was a message. But why her? Why now? And why only when she was alone? That night, as the hospital quieted down and the hallways dimmed, Mia did something different. She pulled out an old notebook she had in her bag and began writing down every detail she could remember about the song, the melody, the main phrase, the emotions that rose while she heard it. She wrote as if trying to capture something slipping through her fingers. As she wrote, new words came to her mind, verses that weren't in the Bible, but felt like they belonged. She didn't know if she was creating or receiving. She just kept writing like a secretary of the invisible. "You surround me with songs only the Spirit hears. You sing for me when I have no strength to sing. You fill the silence with melodies that heal." When she finished writing, she looked at Josh. The monitor remained stable, the signs all within the same range, but something inside her said he could hear it, that somehow, he too was being touched by that music. Maybe not with his ears, but with his soul. She then picked up the notebook, sat closer to him, and read aloud what she had written. Not like someone reciting, but like someone singing without melody, words with rhythm, but no tune, just truth, just faith. "Josh, if you can hear me, this song is for you. You are surrounded by it, even if you don't realize it." And for a moment, the room felt different. The air seemed lighter. Time slowed down. Mia closed her eyes. She didn't know if she was praying or singing, but she felt like it was prayer in the form of sound. It wasn't a performance. It was surrender. Later, before going to sleep, she opened the Bible she had left in the nightstand drawer. She flipped through the pages until she found Psalm 32. She read it again, connected every word to what she was living. "You are my hiding place," and she truly needed to hide from so much pain. "You preserved me from trouble," and this trouble had no name, but it lived inside her. "You surround me with songs," and now, that wasn't a metaphor anymore. It was real. Before turning off the lights, she wrote another note, folded it carefully, as if it were a secret letter to God, and placed it on Josh's chest. "I know you're listening. Even if you don't say a word, even if you can't respond, I know this song is reaching you, because it reached me first." That night, Mia dreamed of water, a calm, clear river flowing through a field of flowers. She was there, lying on the grass, eyes closed, hearing a song in the background, the same melody, the same phrase. But in the dream, there was another voice singing with her. It was familiar, warm, ancient. She woke up startled, her eyes full of tears. "That voice," she whispered. "I know that voice." But she still couldn't remember where from, and that's what hurt the most. The certainty that she had heard that song before, somewhere in childhood, in a time when faith still came naturally, and fear didn't live so close. The image from the dream wouldn't leave Mia's mind. The river, the voice, The song, it all felt like it came from a place she already knew, but had buried under layers of grief, urgency, and routine. During breakfast in the hospital cafeteria, she barely touched her toast. Her eyes were lost, like someone searching a mental attic for a chest that had been locked away for years. She returned to Josh's room and sat next to him. The melody felt distant that morning, as if it were waiting for something, as if the silence needed a forgotten key. That's when Mia grabbed the notebook where she'd been writing fragments of the song. She read aloud everything she had written so far, but when she repeated one of the lines, "You surround me with songs of deliverance," something triggered inside her. An echo, an image, a scent. She closed her eyes, and there it was, her childhood bedroom. The pastel-colored walls, the floral bedspread, the blue ceramic-based lamp. She was lying there, 7 years old, with a fever and fear, and her mother sitting beside her, Bible open in her lap, quietly singing the same melody, now echoing in the hospital. "It was you, Mom," Mia whispered. "It was you singing." The memory washed over her like a warm wave. Her mother would place cool cloths on her forehead, whisper a prayer through her teeth, and sing the psalm like a cradle for the soul. "You are my hiding place. You surround me with songs of deliverance. No pain can take me from you, because even here, the Lord sees me." Mia opened her eyes, heart racing. That moment had truly happened. The song she'd been hearing in the hospital wasn't new. It was a piece of the past, an inheritance, something time had tried to erase, but now it was returning in full force, as if God were using the same voice, the same melody, to heal not just Josh, but her too. She went to her bag and pulled out an old photo folded inside a forgotten wallet. It was her and Josh as kids, sitting on the porch, arms around each other. In the background, their mother with a guitar on her lap. That wasn't a coincidence. Faith was coming back to reclaim memories she had neglected, not out of malice but out of survival. With trembling hands, she wrote a new entry in the notebook. "Maybe the sound of hope isn't something we learn, but something we remember. Maybe God isn't teaching me a new song, but reminding me of one I was never meant to forget." That afternoon, Mia decided to do something different. She grabbed a small portable speaker, connected it to her phone, and played a soft instrumental melody. She picked up the notebook and, this time, she didn't just read. She sang in a low voice, with contained emotion but with conviction. The melody came effortlessly. The words flowed naturally, and as she sang, she felt something shift in the room. The room felt less like a hospital, less cold, more human, more divine. She stood, placed the notebook on Josh's chest, and whispered, "This song is ours. It's the same one Mum used to sing when I got sick. It's the same one I sang for you when you fell off your bike. And now, it's the song God is using to call you back." Only then did the memory become whole. She must have been around 9 years old. Josh was 5. They were returning from a trip when he fell and scraped his knee. He cried uncontrollably, inconsolable. Instinctively, Mia began singing the psalm to him, just as she had learned from their mother. He stopped crying instantly, looked at her with teary eyes and said, "Your voice makes the pain go away." She had never remembered that sentence again, but now, it came back like lightning. She knelt beside the bed, placed her hands over her face, and wept, not out of despair, but recognition. That song wasn't just a response, it was a return, a bond, a reunion with everything she had been before the pain. At the end of the day, she wrote a note to Josh as if he were awake. "Hey, little brother, if you're hearing this in there, I want you to know, I'm here, singing for you, like Mum used to do for me, like I once did for you. And now it's my turn to remember that He surrounds you with songs of deliverance, that this song is ours, and that one day you'll sing it with me." She folded the note carefully and placed it under his pillow, kissed his forehead and whispered, "You're not leaving. Not now, this song isn't over yet." Mia then sat again, reread Psalm 32, and in a soft voice, as if not to wake the angels, she murmured, "May I never again forget the sound of faith, even when everything around me feels like silence." But what Mia didn't know was that that same song had already been heard by someone else, in another room, in another time, and that the answer she was looking for was about to arrive from a bed that wasn't even hers. The next morning, Mia went down to the hospital chapel. It was a discreet place, almost hidden at the end of the corridor on the second floor. A wooden bench, a simple cross on the wall, a few Bibles stacked in the corner, and a tall window through which a beam of light entered, just enough to remind her that, even among diagnoses and medical reports, there was still room for the sacred dot. She didn't know exactly why she was there. Maybe to escape the room for a few minutes. Maybe to breathe air that wasn't clinical. Or maybe because something was pulling her, the same something that had been singing to her these past few days. When she gently pushed the door open, she realized she wasn't alone. An elderly woman with white hair was sitting in the first pew, eyes closed, holding a worn-out little notebook in her hands. Mia hesitated, thinking of turning back. But before she could step away, the woman turned her head and smiled. "You can come in, dear. The silence here is big enough for two." Mia smiled back and sat quietly 2 rows behind her. For a moment, she simply observed. The woman seemed at peace. There was something in her presence that resembled ancient prayer, the kind that doesn't need words, only surrender. After a few minutes, the woman spoke without turning. "Are you here for someone, or for yourself?" The question hit deep. Mia took a breath before answering. "For my brother, Josh. He's in the ICU. Motorcycle accident. He's in a coma." The woman nodded gently. "I've been there too. My husband, a few years ago. Long days, nearly 2 weeks. Same hospital, maybe even the same floor." Mia turned slightly. "Did he recover?" The woman smiled. "Yes, but it wasn't medicine that brought him back. It was another melody." Mia felt a chill. The words were too precise to be random. "What kind of melody?" she asked cautiously. The woman opened the notebook in her hands and showed the first page, written in firm handwriting and already worn lines. At the top, it read, "You are my hiding place. You surround me with songs of deliverance." Mia's stomach twisted. "That's the psalm I've been hearing." Literally, the woman looked her in the eyes for the first time, hearing or remembering. Mia didn't know what to say. "I'm not sure. The music, it appears when I'm with my brother. It's not external. It's like it's in the air, but only for me. I recorded it. No one hears it, but I do. The woman touched her own chest. "Me too. Every time I was alone in my husband's room, a melody would appear. Sometimes it felt like a breath. Sometimes it sounded like my own voice. But what it said was always the same. He surrounds you with songs of deliverance." Mia began to cry. It felt like finding someone who spoke the same language of a tongue the whole world had forgotten. The woman continued. "When he woke up, the first thing he said was, 'The song didn't let me give up.' He thought it was me singing, but I know it was God, using what I carried, an old memory, a psalm, a sound that defeats the darkness." Mia couldn't hold back her tears. "I thought I was the only one, that maybe it was just my memory protecting me." The woman shook her head. Gently, "You are not alone, dear. That psalm has voices that travel through time. Sometimes it sings for you, sometimes through you, and sometimes, even when you're not singing, it keeps playing." Mia opened her notebook and wrote a new page. "If this song has already played by another bedside, then it is alive. If it has healed someone before, it can heal again. If God has ever sung for someone, he may be singing for Josh now." Back in the room, Mia felt different. The story wasn't just a coincidence. It was confirmation. It was testimony. It was a repeated promise. And repeated promises are always stronger. She sat next to her brother, picked up the notebook, took a deep breath, and began to sing. Not with the voice of a singer, but with the voice of someone remembering. She repeated the verses slowly, almost like a prayer, almost like someone rocking a baby with sacred words. "You are my hiding place. You surround me with songs of deliverance." She repeated it again, and again, and again. Then she heard it, not with her ears, but with her heart. A soft beep from the heart monitor changed rhythm. A line on the graph reacted. A number moved, slightly, almost imperceptibly, but something inside her knew. He heard it, not with the body, but with the soul. She stood up, called the nurse. The technical movement began, but Mia stayed silent, watching him. The body still quiet, but something had moved, because the music had been heard, and the song was not over yet. That same night, after singing beside her brother and noticing the slight change in the monitor, Mia couldn't sleep. The exhaustion weighed on her, but something kept her awake. It wasn't insomnia, it was sacred restlessness, as if there was still something to be done, something the song hadn't finished. She sat in the waiting room, alone, notebook in her lap, eyes filled with tears. Across the room, a mother sat silently, also writing. At some point, their eyes met. "Do you also have someone in there?" Mia asked gently. The woman nodded. "My son, 17 years old. Car accident." Silence returned for a few seconds. I've been hearing a strange song these past few days," Mia ventured, "as if it came from nowhere, but it says exactly what I need to hear." The woman smiled, her eyes glowing. "He surrounds you with songs of deliverance." Mia froze, her heart raced. "You heard that? Last night, in the chapel. I thought it was some recording, but no one else heard it. I thought it was just in my head." The two of them looked at each other in silence. The air seemed denser, fuller, more alive. "It's not just in your head," Mia said. "It's Psalm 32, and it's spreading." The next morning, Mia decided to write the complete song with the adapted verses she had collected over the days. A song based on the psalm, with lines that weren't in scripture, but were born from lived pain. She felt it needed to be shared. She took the sheet to the front desk, made a few copies, and discreetly left them on the chaplaincy table with a note. "This song held me together when everything felt dark. If you know someone hospitalized here, take a copy. Sometimes healing begins with a verse." Throughout the rest of the day, Mia witnessed something unexpected happen. Patients, family members, even a nurse walked down the hallway holding that folded sheet. Some sang softly, others simply read. A few cried. They didn't know who had written it, but they knew that, somehow, that melody was meant for them. A volunteer delivering flowers approached Mia in the elevator. "Is that song yours?" "Yes," she answered, humbly. "I read it to a woman in palliative care." She hadn't spoken in days, but when she heard it, she whispered, "Amen." Mia swallowed hard. The song was no longer just hers, nor Josh's. It belonged to whoever needed it. At lunchtime, she returned to the chapel. The pile of sheets was gone. In its place, someone else had left a handwritten testimony. "I read the psalm to my grandmother. She squeezed my hand and smiled." The song didn't heal her body, but it restored her soul. Mia sat on the back pew in silence. She felt both the weight and the lightness of being at the center of something invisible. The psalm was doing what no human effort could, stitching broken hearts with singing words by the end of the day. When she returned to Josh's room, the monitor was stable, but the atmosphere felt different. There was no more agony there. There was expectation, trust, as if time itself knew it couldn't take much longer. Mia approached her brother, held his hand, and whispered, "You know, this song isn't just ours anymore. It's walked down the halls. It's touched people we've never met." It became the voice of someone who could no longer speak. She pulled one of the copies from her bag, unfolded it, and showed it to her brother. Even unconscious, she knew he would understand. "And it all started because you didn't answer. But heaven answered for you." Before leaving, she taped one of the copies to the wall beside the bed, picked up a pen and wrote at the top, "For anyone who needs to remember there's still music, even in silence." Mia left the room without saying another word, but the song remained, and what she didn't know yet was that Josh was listening, not with his ears, but with his soul. 2 days had passed since that small movement on the heart monitor. Josh still hadn't awakened, but something had changed. The doctors said the signs were more responsive. For Mia, it wasn't just clinical data, it was an answer, a spiritual vibration, as if the psalm was beginning to produce sound. Inside him, she returned to the room earlier than usual. She felt she needed to be there before everything, before the visitors, the tests, the procedures. She brought her notebook, the portable speaker, and a faith firmer than on any previous day. She adjusted the chair beside the bed, held Josh's hand, and, just as she had since day one, spoke in a soft voice, "Good morning, little brother. The music is still playing. I just came to remind you." She turned on the speaker, started the instrumental track, and began to sing. The same melody, the same words, but something felt different. Her voice was steadier, clearer, as if hope was already sown into her throat, as if she already knew they were very close. On the third verse, his eyes moved. First, a slight tremor beneath the eyelids, then a slow blink. Finally, his eyes opened, blank at first, until they met hers. Mia dropped the notebook, leaned in, her heart pounding. "Josh, it's me. It's Mia. Can you hear me?" He tried to blink again. The light from the window touched his face. He furrowed his brows slightly. The music, he murmured. It was as if the entire universe had stopped to hear that sentence. 3 words worth more than any medical report. 3 words that broke the silence of a coma. 3 words Mia would never forget. "You heard it?" she asked, already crying. The music. Josh closed his eyes for a moment, as if searching for breath among memories. I was in a place, dark, silent, timeless, but there was a melody, a voice calling me back. Mia held his hand tightly, trembling inside. Was it my voice? It was you, and someone else. Someone else. Josh nodded with effort. It was hard for him to speak, but he seemed determined. It was Mum. Mia lost her breath. She leaned back in the chair, eyes brimming. No, that's impossible. It was her voice, just like before. She was singing the psalm, the same one. "You've been singing." He paused, breathed in, and murmured. It was the song that wouldn't let me go. Mia cried like a child, face in her hands, kneeling beside the bed. She knew what this was. It was the kind of miracle that doesn't need to be explained, only lived. Josh closed his eyes again, as if falling asleep, but this time, with peace. Mia didn't leave the room. She stayed there, sitting, singing softly. The song now wasn't just an act of faith. It was gratitude in the form of sound. It was the harvest of everything she had planted in silence. By late afternoon, with more family present, the medical team confirmed Josh was no longer at neurological risk. He would still need time, rehabilitation, more tests, but he was there, awake, conscious, and that was everything. In the following days, Josh improved quickly. He could already keep his eyes open longer, move his fingers, form short sentences. Mia visited even more often now, not just as a sister, but as a witness. She knew what had happened went beyond the physical. It was spiritual, and there was no more room for doubt. On the 4th morning after he woke up, Josh asked for something Mia wasn't expecting. "Teach me how to sing that psalm." She smiled. "Do you remember parts of it?" "I remember the beginning. You are my hiding place." And then it was songs of deliverance, right? "That's right." She grabbed the notebook, sat beside him, and began to teach. Word by word, verse by verse, not like someone teaching music, but like someone reactivating the memory of a promise. With every repetition, Josh grew stronger, as if the melody were reprogramming something inside him. His coordination returned. Emotion overflowed. It was as if his body was learning to speak the same language as his soul. "That song brought me back," he said. Now I wanted to bring others back to Mia didn't answer with words. She just nodded, eyes filled with tears. That night, she recorded a portion of the song at home, with a simple microphone and guitar. She included a full reading of Psalm 32, alternating between speech and melody. At the end, she added a spontaneous message. "If you know someone who's in the dark, sing. If you're trying to hear the voice of God, remember, sometimes he sings before he speaks. And if this song reached my brother, maybe today is the day it reaches someone you love." She posted the video with no expectations. It was just a way to eternalize what they had lived. But the responses started arriving like waves. In the comments, dozens of people shared similar experiences. "My daughter heard this psalm before her surgery and fell asleep in peace. My father hadn't responded in weeks until we played this song. I don't know why I cried so much, but I felt something different here." Mia read each comment as if it were a confirmation from heaven. It was as if God was saying, "You weren't the only one. I still sing. I've always sung." Josh was discharged from ICU and transferred to the rehab unit. He was already eating, speaking clearly, and asking to hear the psalm every night before sleep. On one of those nights, Mia brought their mother's old Bible. She showed him the page, marked with Psalm 32. It was the same one they used as kids. But inside the Bible there was something Mia had never seen. An aged piece of paper, a folded notebook page, in their mother's handwriting, an entire song. A complete, personalized version of the psalm. At the end, a sentence, "If one day you forget, sing, because you will always remember for you." Mia sat in silence for a long moment, then read the whole thing aloud to Josh. He cried quietly, for their mother, for the song, for coming back, for grace. She already knew, didn't she? He asked. She did. "And you?" Mia took a deep breath. "Now, I know too," before leaving. That night, she recorded another part of the song, this time with Josh's voice. weak but steady, fragile but full of conviction, a miracle in progress. The video was posted with a simple caption, "If this song touched your heart, write in the comments, 'I heard it too.' And write the name of someone you wish to see, surrounded by songs of deliverance. Maybe this song is the prayer they need to hear. And if you believe heaven still sings, share this promise with someone who's fighting not to give up. In the final scene, Mia appears, holding the open notebook, and says, "Some songs weren't written, they were born in heaven, and only echoed here." Maybe you don't need to understand, you just need to sing, and let God do the rest. Because sometimes, the miracle doesn't start with healing. It starts with a song that no one else can hear, but someone decides not to stop singing.